Hello and a warm welcome to BFI at Home, a series of exclusive digital events. My name is Justin Johnson and I'm delighted to welcome you to this very special event to celebrate the start of Season 2 of Ghosts, which plays on BBC One on Monday the 21st of September. In Season 1, we saw a young couple, Alison and Mike, inherit Button House, and after Alison's accident, she could see and speak to the ghosts that live inside. Back in April last year, back in BFI South Bank, we had a special preview of Series 1, but since then, the show's been launched and went on to be the highest rating comedy show on UK television in 2019. I am delighted to say that we have with us the cast and creative team behind the show, Martha Howe-Douglas, Lawrence Rickard, Matthew Bainton, Ben Wilbond, and Jim Howick.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
I noticed that we have 5 out of 6, which is quite a standard when we've done events with you in the past, that one of you takes that kind of rock and roll kind of moment to not turn up, and today it's Simon, which has been the case a few times.
Yeah, I mean it's normally Simon.
Yeah. It is normally Simon. It's been it's been Ben and Matt. I think the standard. I have to Martha and Larry and Jim. You've always been very, very good. You've always been. I think you've got 10 out of 10 attendance. Yeah. And
I mean, I can go and get a mop. And just
we have done that in the past.
Yeah.
Without
hey, everybody.
Yeah.
No. Simon's off. Is conquering Hollywood. Simon's in pre-production on his on one of his movies. I think
he's a pretty big deal.
He's a pretty big deal. Yeah.
So you must feel very fortunate when he does deign to be with you.
Oh yeah, it's like a visit from the Queen.
Yeah, he is. You call him
like it's like an accidental visit.
And he always asks us what we do.
Can I just ask you a quick question to begin with, which is not directly related to ghosts, but it's about your grouping, the 6 of you. And I know that over the years, you were the Horrible History guys, then you were the Horrible Histories Yonderland guys, and then you were the Horrible Histories Yonderland Bill and Ghost guys. But actually now you have a name for your collective. Is that right? You are now them there. Is that an established and signed off thing?
That was the name of the company, I guess. That was the sort of company name. We've never really sort of sought to try and find a name for ourselves, really. That was...
It's tricky. It's sort of like giving yourself a nickname at school that no one will ever use it, and also they'll go, God, who does this guy think he is? Because it's sort of our working together as something that's kind of bled out naturally over the last 12 years. There was never that day dot decision to go, right, this is who we are, this is what we're called, this is what we're going to do. It's just sort of happened, and thankfully every time we've tried to do something together, thankfully it's come to fruition. So it's not that we don't think it's a good idea, it's just that it's kind of, is it maybe too late in the day to suddenly announce ourselves as a new thing?
Never too late to refresh your brand, is it? I mean,
no.
Take that have had an exclusive on the Double T group name for a while. So why shouldn't you, with them there now, sort of take their crown?
Yeah,
and their logo potentially,
and their logo as well. So I referred to the fact that obviously last year we had you in venue talking about Series 1, and at that point the show hadn't gone out. I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about when you realised that the show actually was the big hit that it became.
I don't know if it ever feels concrete, really, in that sense, because their numbers, it's kind of abstract. With Horrible Histories, we had the prom where we suddenly had an actual audience in front of us and sort of felt for the first time, I think, the sense of how big that show had got and how much the audience loved it. And that's kind of continued through our work, that we come into contact with our fans at events like the one at the BFI. And it's always so wonderful because it's not necessarily about the size of the audience, but the fact that you feel how passionate they are about the work that we've made.
I mean, I guess the fact that the BBC handed you a fairly unprecedented Series 2 and 3 commission, I mean, that's a very unusual thing to happen, and so speedily must show the confidence they had in the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been hugely positive and supportive from the start. From when we sort of first went to them with the idea, and then right the way through the piloting and the making of that first series, there was no sense of, oh, that's good and it's worked, so well done, guys. They were kind of, they felt like they were behind us all the way through making it, and it's just. it's lovely for them and for us to, you know, put your faith in something and find that it pays off. So yeah, I mean, that's a real great and very rare vote of confidence to get those 2 series straight off the bat.
And I think the BBC One sort of broad family sitcom slot is a notorious killing ground. Lots of people have died on that battlefield. And so I think, you know, we were trepidatious and obviously holding our breath a little bit to see if it would go down okay. But if it does go down okay, then you know, it's quite a rare thing in that slot, I think. So,
and you very successfully managed to include material in there that has got the ability to be a bit frightening. Obviously, anything to do with ghosts can be frightening in sort of in a family sense, but also a lot of the gags in there, you know, could fly over some of the kind of younger audience's heads. I mean, one thing I'm thinking about is, and I don't know whether this is just my perception, but I definitely felt, having watched the first episode of series 2, that Martha's character name is used in a much more double entendre heavy way, in the kind of "are you being served" sense than
I think
it had
that's
been before.
That's all you, Justin.
We came over the scripts afterwards to just make sure we haven't got too many funny references.
Yeah, that was
a script that Martha actually wrote, I might add as well.
That's what people won't know, is how many we didn't do.
Sure.
How incredibly disciplined we were about the number and type of funny double entendre.
Also,
genuinely though, a lot of those did come about by accident. We'd just be sitting around the table sort of talking through plot beats, and it's a word where when you put it in a sentence, it makes you laugh. So, you know, obviously there were some constructed ones in there, but a lot of the time they sort of happen naturally, and you go, to take that out when it just came out as a part of natural conversation sort of feels like almost
although I will say there's nothing accidental about writing a line like "these people have paid for a glimpse of Fanny."
I'm okay, sure. There's that one. That was probably Martha.
Fanny's exposed.
That's what I was particularly thinking of. Fanny's exposed was definitely.
I think originally Fanny's exposed was a change, because it was originally Fanny's in the open.
There was
somehow felt worse. So, you know.
These are the least crass.
Yeah.
Going back into the show for season 2, both from a writing and acting perspective, and knowing how well the show had been received before, did that kind of give you an extra kind of confidence, and did that kind of help you in terms of working out what worked well and what didn't work so well in the first series?
Yeah, definitely. I think a second series, certainly a successful, after a successful first series, you do have a certain sort of swagger, I think.
Spring in your step.
A spring in your step. You know what
rather
works.
Than swagger. I wasn't swaggering.
Ben, you're all swagger.
I had some jauntiness.
I had a bit of swagger about me. I used to strut to the house each morning.
Yeah, when you walk out your front door, it does look like the opening of Saturday Night Fever.
It certainly has affected me differently now, because this time last year, or just before the show came out, I was nervous as hell.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to expect, didn't know what the audience would think of the show. So I'm a lot more relaxed at this stage.
I think the writing as well, you can be a little bit more playful because you've established the characters and you know that the audience have taken them to their hearts. And so the scripts in series 2 are playful with the form as well. You know, there's a couple which kind of, you know that there's a consistency with the characters that the audience are familiar with, and therefore you can change the shape of the format that you put those characters in and they'll go with you. But you can't do that in the first series of something when you haven't already established that familiarity.
And also that I, you know, because any sitcom, you have to do that pilot thing of setting up the premise. But in something like this, which is one quite high concept, there's quite a lot of premise and exposition to set up. And where the troupe is so large, where we sort of got, you know, 10, 11 characters in that central ensemble, there's a lot of work you have to do in those first episodes, and with us actually across the first 2 episodes of the first series, which once that's done, that's done. So coming in on series 2, you can kind of you go into it with far more of a running start. And I think the first couple of episodes hopefully feel like they've kind of got the confidence that the show found as we got into the middle of that first series.
Can you just give us a little bit of insight into your kind of writing process? I know that you have once again paired off to write the individual episodes that are in the series, but how that kind of initial kind of structuring of the series kind of works in terms of sort of some of the different sort of storylines and stuff. Do you do those collectively and then go off into your pairs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Storylining is all in the room, and we spend a lot of
Or
time
in the Zoom.
In the Zoom now. But the more time you spend with story and structure, the more delightful they are to write. And that's just true of anything that you write. So we have to spend a lot of time constructing the series arc and then the individual stories. And then, you go off and again, there's further sort of whittling away at those stories. And
yeah, but if you've done the sort of the
detail.
homework on that structural side, it means that you can have, it's an awful, it's fun and playful when you're then doing the actual script, which helps the comedy, particularly, writing with Martha because she's always drunk. You have to get the structure out the way, because otherwise, it's going to turn into some sort of free form
gin in the bath
sort of experiment.
And then do you each bring your scripts back to the table and then all go through it and so forth and sort of? I mean, do you have the kind of relationship where you can be truly honest in a kind of creative sense?
100%. Yeah. Everyone. The quality of the show is more important than any individual pride or ego, and we all feel the same way about that. So it makes for a completely open, honest and collaborative process from day one to the right. You're on set shooting and you're still talking about, is that line, could that and it's not necessarily just offering criticism of each other, it's asking for it for your own work. Writing and performance, often you'll turn to someone and say, I don't feel that funny here. Have you got something that will help me, And
that's an amazing thing to have, because that support, because right all the way through the process, it gives you that confidence to go in and say, I'm not feeling this. What do I need here? And there'll be somebody around on set, even you go, and then you can work it out in the moment.
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong answer. That's the thing. You're always shooting. You think, maybe it's that. Give it a go.
Yeah, it's just
often. Sometimes there's moments where it's simply the blocking that will.
Yeah.
Well, you may be in a scene where the writer of that script is in makeup or isn't in that day, so
is playing snooker with
or is playing snooker with an executive commissioner. But we sort of have to have a sort of certain amount of trust and respect for each other, and respect that we'll be able to do the right thing.
I always say
right changes
in the moment. I always prefix my comment with, I respect you, but and that's how it sort of plays out.
And also, because
does that help if Ben says that? If Ben
weirdly, it makes it worse somehow, because then that what's coming is going to be. Often he'll say, I respect you, and then just lift the script up and tear it into like a yellow pages. It doesn't take the sting out of it. Yeah.
I respect you, but I don't respect it.
Yeah. And he'll pull out a lighter and set fire to it, and he doesn't smoke. He's bringing that lighter to do that.
I respect you too much to say these terrible lines you've written. I'm going to say what I want.
You must all have a sense of kind of ownership over the characters that your individual characters now that you play, and when you see a script that somebody else has written and there are lines that you're going to say, do you have times you just think, well, my character wouldn't say that, and you kind of have to then
plenty of time in the scripting process, like the rigor is so intense that you can always sort of offer those. Even those fine details.
No matter how much you try and have an eye over that, because there's so many beats to hit in a script that's serving, 10 characters, there will always be the moment where you go, that's the beat. and you will have accidentally written it quite baldly, and it will take the person who plays them to go, that, you know, that doesn't sound like Lady
Frontal.
Button. And you go, yeah, no, you're right, of course it doesn't. And those again, they're the fun tweaks to make in those later drafts, because you're bringing more character and often more laughs to it. So, you know, no one minds or resents that at all.
And the flip side to that as well is that often it's a delight to read the scripts that other people have written from your character point of view, because they'll see the character ever so slightly differently.
That's true.
It might take a line or a story or a moment in a direction that you wouldn't have if you were writing it for your own character. That's pleasantly surprising, you know.
Or gives you, you know, other ideas for the character.
Yeah.
Pat gets naked, for example.
Yeah. Do that a
Yeah,
lot.
so
I would never write that.
But Julian gets naked. Simon would presumably always write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time cutting
Does he like it?
that
Does he like
line.
it?
Wow!
Well, he does it a lot for someone who doesn't like it, put it that way.
Yeah.
And when you're actually shooting, by that stage, is the script 100% there and not to be touched? Or actually, are you still tweaking things on the go as well?
We are, but not as much as I think people believe. I mean, the script has to be there because throughout the pre-production process, everything really has to be locked down. The director's had it by that stage and there's blocking. So, but, you know, in individual performance, or if there's a funny line that you come up with you think might work, you can introduce it. You're never going to completely rewrite a scene.
I think there's just always an attitude of, can this be better? And so sometimes the writing will be tweaked on set in that spirit. But also there are certain markers which we know from the very beginning of a script where you go, that is a bit where you'll do some alts.
Yeah.
Some of the scenes are just, you know that it's word for word, it will work that way. And there's others where I'm thinking, like, for example, in Impressions Club and things, there are certain scenes where you go, well, Pat does an impression, so just roll cameras, let Jim do 10 different versions. And
the same in series 2 with the there's kind of some amateur radio station scenes, and those we, you know, to a degree, you go, here are some words on the script that can be guidelines, but we are very aware that these will not be what are said, and nor should they be, you know.
And also, they need to allow a lot of time for Jim and Matt to do that. Because
it's a shame actually. We didn't have an awful lot of time to do that scene on the day, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Because had that been the first scene of the day, we wouldn't have finished the day.
And this is because you and Matt, as Martha touches on, have the reputation in the group for being the kind of the corpses, if you like, the people who are going to...
Well, I think I'm not... I don't think I'm the corpser. I think I make people corpse, and I kind of enjoy making people corpse.
All Jim has to do for me is if I'm lining up for a shot and he's not in the scene, but you've got the camera ready to go, all Jim has to do is just do that above into my eye line and down again. And
you already know what's gonna work, you know, corpse wise. Matt and I are writing a script for series 3 at the moment where Pat tells a story, and I know that it's gonna take a while to do it because everyone's there and it's gonna take ages.
Yeah. And in terms of the other 4 kind of principal actors who you work with, bearing in mind, obviously, you're the 6 who kind of, you know, you run the show, you write it, you're in it, you're exec producers. Does that mean that they have to be careful working around you? Are they allowed to kind of make or is it a very tyrannical kind of relationship?
We try and instill fear into all of them every day.
Keep them on their toes.
No, very much. I think because we've all been in that situation where you go onto a set, particularly of an existing show, and you're a day player or whatever it might be, it can be a bit daunting. I think we were all really aware from the outset to be as welcoming as we could because we are an existing troupe. But also, you know, particularly, you know, Jim had worked with Lolly before. We'd all worked with Katie from, you know, Horrible Histories and before. And so, in a lot of ways, it didn't sort of feel like it was new people coming on. It was just a chance to expand the troupe, and I think they all embraced the kind of the tone of the set as well. And well, I think it's, as we just touched upon a couple of minutes ago, we try and keep things light, and they happen to have that same approach as well. And so I think it was a really easy, really natural fit.
And when a script is kind of coming through and you've all received it, do you all count your lines to make sure that it's even? If Simon hasn't got if Simon's got 3 lines less than everybody else, is that going to be a problem?
Simon doesn't. Simon's not our read through. Simon's agent comes to our read through.
Yeah.
And counts the lines.
We think it's Simon's agent.
One of Simon's agents.
It could be his US representation. I don't know.
I always think if you don't turn up to one of these affairs, and it's fair game that you become the person who everybody, kind of does the ribbing.
I mean, to be fair, we do the same when he's in. What are we going to say?
I mean, it's one of the reasons he doesn't have any trousers on, to be fair.
And I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about, obviously we've been through, or we are going through at the moment, this pandemic, which has caused a lot of productions to sort of stall or to have to kind of close down. How far during the making of series 2 were you when it all kind of really kicked in?
We started shooting at the very beginning of the year, and we actually finished just a few days before lockdown began.
Yeah, mid-January. Yeah.
And
we closed down on the penultimate day of our schedule.
We
had to sort of shove everything into that day, and
that was a weird morning going in.
Tailor scenes and
I think
going in on our second to last day, and just sort of had that. We need to all pop in for a meeting, and I think walking in there, we didn't know whether they were just going to go, that's it.
We were so lucky.
Shoot this, or,
very lucky.
Yeah.
No, we were so lucky. Had it been 4 days before our schedule end, then we probably wouldn't have finished. We probably would have to gone back to it and pick them up.
It was strange shooting through that time. I remember when we were in the first week of rehearsal, someone, I think it might have been Katie, sort of, reading the newspaper or something on her phone, and sort of said we'd seen about this thing in China, and half the people in the room hadn't really heard about this even being a story, something that was happening. And then by the end of that same production, it literally shut us down. So it was
a very, very, very strange final wrap moment, because it was so much more significant than this is the end of shooting this series. It was everyone entering this unknown period, especially crew, thinking, I don't know when I'll work again. We were so lucky we'd already had series 3 commissioned, and we knew at the very least we would get to work writing these scripts.
Yeah. But
the crew in particular were all just facing a completely uncertain future beyond the end of that shoot. So there was it was just a very heavy goodbye. It was much more emotional. It's always a bit emotional because I hope that everyone involved in our show feels this way, but we are a family while we're making the show, and we it's always sad to say goodbye, but it was a particularly profoundly sad moment wrapping this series.
We usually get a chance to have a party afterwards and a screening prior to the second series, and we haven't had any of that. So hopefully we'll be able to make up for it in series 3.
And when you're writing series 3, will you have to now will that be a factoring in process of what you could or couldn't shoot, or you just kind of have to just go on as normal and just hope that things are sorted?
It's a little of both, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been bearing it in mind in terms of not writing scenes with a ton of crowd and things like that. To some extent, we have built in to the show a number of favorable circumstances, the biggest one being that it's all shot in one place. We don't have to move from to different venues and move the base and
close streets down and
and everything that's involved with all of that, and so we're already a little bit of a bubble in the way that we do it, but yeah, we're bearing it in mind from certain production point of views, but also we're still just writing as imaginatively unmuzzled as we can be.
Yeah, it's thrown up a new challenge, really. We're trying not to sort of quash the ambition of a third series, and at the same time, as Matt said, just finding inventive ways to keep the magic of the show.
Right. Well, having now brought you down to that very low moment, we put out a request on social media for people to send through possible questions that I could ask you on their behalf. So I now say these are. I'm
married.
Yeah, that doesn't stop everybody, Jim. And I'm going to ask you. They're pretty quick fire questions. I don't think you'll need to spend too long pondering over them too much. So I'm going to just throw them out there. So the first question is, whose initial idea was it to do a show about ghosts?
Me.
Me.
No, we talked about.
That's good.
We talked about a number of ideas. Ghost was the one we kept coming back to.
Yeah.
So I think it was.
Yeah.
And have you experienced any paranormal stuff on set?
No.
Oh, somebody did. Who was it?
Oh, well, didn't a makeup?
Someone in makeup
artist
said
have,
that someone tapped their
touched
shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But someone
was-
probably tapped
That
their
was
shoulder.
probably Farnaby.
I felt a presence in my trailer, but it was Martha.
And what has been or is going to be from series 2 your favourite episode?
Well,
think-
I mean,
Sophie's Choice
it's
is the name of episode 3, and we love it.
Episode 6 is a lovely. It's a lovely.
Episode 6. There is a nice ending. It's a lovely ending. Episode 4 is
Are these all your episodes?
is
I was trying to keep quiet and not.
Yeah.
there's a stunning
Episodes
turn
2, 4,
from
and
Mr. Matthew Bainton in episode 4 this year. Quite the performance.
Okay, if you were a ghost, which famous person would you most like to haunt? That could be
Simon-
good or bad,
I'd like-
couldn't it?
Simon Farnaby, because I'd just love to know what he's up to.
If you could bring one
It's hard
horrible
to
history...
answer that question without
It is.
sounding like,
So somebody you'd like to
Pervy.
stalk.
Yeah.
Just to
If
be
you-
clear, when I said Simon, I meant it in the pervy way.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, good.
If you could bring one horrible histories character into the series as a new ghost, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good
Ooh, that's a good
question.
question.
Henry VIII, probably.
Yeah, Churchill would be fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It says Kiss, Marry, Kill, Julian the Captain, Pat.
Well, that's for them
Or
to.
marry Pat, surely.
Yeah.
I'm married.
I think we've answered this question. How much of the show is improvised?
Yeah, not very much.
Not very much.
3.7%.
Yeah,
Little bits.
little bits here and there, and
Tiny
yeah,
bits.
Some of the
Technically,
learning comes from improvisation.
a sprinkling of
it's all improvised, but it's just improvised earlier in the process than when
Yeah,
we were set.
that is actually kind of true.
It is true.
Another question. Will the captain's sexuality be further explored in the future?
Watch this space.
Yeah.
Oh, blimey, okay.
I mean,
Watch.
yes is the answer.
Watch this space. Face.
Here's a technical one. How do you film ghosts walking through people? In detail, starting now.
Larry.
Really, really difficult. Walking through walls is really, really easy. Walking through people, you have to shoot them as separate elements against green screen. And you can't just cross-dissolve them. They have to sort of layer them so that parts of the body go through ahead of
Before
other parts of the body.
yeah.
So it's one of, there's a reason we do it sparingly.
Have you read any of the ghost fan fiction? If so, thoughts on the writing?
The what?
Have you read any ghost fan fiction?
The ghost fan fiction?
No, but
I guess that must be a part of the dark web you might need to
How do I?
get into at some point.
we
No,
did
let's
we did
not.
become aware of some fan fiction a while ago that was NSFW, and I've kept away from it ever since.
I'm not even sure
Matt,
what that
Matt
means.
and Ben
but-
tended
Not,
to get to
not
know each
safe
other.
for
a lot.
work, Justin.
Oh, okay, not safe for work. No, well, yeah, I
Um,
think a lot of fan fiction does tend to be a little
Intensely
on the
sexual.
unsavoury side. Thank you.
Yes,
Yes, there we are.
apart
We're going
from
to move.
stuff about me, because I'm married.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
Would you ever consider a ghost musical episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, funny.
mean,
Funny you should.
We may have already considered it.
Yeah, there is ongoing consideration of such a thing.
Last question. Most embarrassing or funny moment on set?
Oh, I mean, just so many in a day. Funny, Julian, there were some wonderful Julian moments that caused considerable delays to the wrapping on scenes on series 2. Simon was very impish, which was great.
Is it episode 2 when he says order?
Oh goodness!
Yeah, that.
Dear.
But like embarrassing moments, like do you mean sort of like falling over and blow-offs?
And what?
They haven't kind of expanded on that too much.
I can't remember. Blow-offs on set, falling over.
That's a word. I haven't heard the phrase blow off for a while. I have to say.
Pops.
My most embarrassing moment was probably when Jim said blow-offs on that BFI thing.
iPhones going off.
Are there any of you that take longer in makeup and dressing than anybody else?
Larry takes ages in makeup. I don't know why.
Yeah,
He
must be really vain because it always takes hours.
Yeah. No, keep going.
That is the end of the kind of quick fire round. But just to finish off, because I know you have lots of other important things to do. Series 3, obviously, you're starting to write now. Having that knowledge that you're going to move into Series 3, and it was already commissioned up front, has that affected some of the storylines that you put down in Series 2 in order to kind of pick them up again deliberately? Or have you just taken them as individual series in their own right?
There are little things, aren't there, that we've started to explore that we'll explore further.
And one thing that it allowed us to do, which is a luxury we've never had before, is when you have a good idea, but it's not quite sitting into the series, knowing that you can, rather than being desperate because it's a good idea to force it in there somewhere, knowing that you can just pop it in the folder for the next series.
It's been incredibly useful to have the next series in that respect.
It would be wonderful if the BBC would commission even more.
It would be able to make it even better.
There are so many stories to be told still. So many adventures to go on.
I'm not sure if it's sort of from a narrative point of view. I'm not sure if it's sort of anything's kind of continuing into Series 3.
No, we said
no. It's more character touches, which as you start,
and crucially, death stories, which is sort of such a key component of the mystery of the show and what the fans are excited about.
Well, you tend to get a sense with certain characters as well. You want to explore that story, but it's not yet. It's too soon. There's not enough bedding in of stuff, of things that you need to know for that to make sense, or understanding a certain aspect of a character before you explore their backstory. So there were backstories we considered in Series 2, which we held off for Series 3.
Yeah,
and I guess in TV terms, one of the biggest accolades you can get is when you're given your own Christmas special, and there is going to be a Ghost Christmas special as well.
Yes,
there is,
and that's all in the can. And that was done when you did Series 2, was it?
Yeah, and it's a really, really beautiful thing, which I can say because I didn't write that particular script, so I'm allowed.
Well, I fear. I can have fear that is the time up for my time with them there, as I'm going to make sure we keep referring to you as, so that your brand is confirmed. So just to remind everybody that Monday 21st September is the launch for the show, and I think all 6 episodes are going to be on iPlayer on the same night. Is that right?
That's right. I think so. Amazing.
Yeah.
So people can just binge away to their heart's content.
They will.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the show. Looking forward to all of season 2, Christmas special, and then season 3 at some point in the future. So congratulations on all that. And
thank you, Justin.
Do give Simon a big kiss for us all.
Oh, we will.
When you see him.
We'll see him in 2022.
Thanks very much. Cheerio, everybody.
Cheers, Justin.
Thank you.
Cheers, Justin.
Bye.
Bye.